quantum, I've been searching in the quantum,
Oh my days. I get so gassed when I hear that intro, you know. I love that intro. It's so mysterious. Welcome back for another episode of Will's Way, the Quantum Success Podcast. Hope everybody's feeling good. Hope everybody's keeping blessed. This is episode number 2. I just want to say a huge thank you actually, because literally the day after I released the first podcast, I realised there's like 50 uploads, downloads, apologise, on the actual podcast itself. All I can say is a massive thank you. I was not expecting that response that quickly. And like I said with all this, I'm in flow right now. And this is exactly what I'm trying to practice at the moment, is just by doing it and learning along the way. So rather than procrastinating, thinking about, oh, how am I going to get people to listen? How am I going to put the podcast out there? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? I'm not worrying. I'm just sort of just putting the action in and letting everything fall into place, right? And this is how generally I live my life. A lot of people used to say to me back in the day, Will, you're just so crazily unorganized, but everything seems to somehow fall into place for you. And I always tried to understand that, and I didn't ever really sort of comprehend that I probably was massively unorganized, which is probably one of my weaknesses. But it did play to a lot of my strengths as well, because a lot of the time I used to surrender to the outcome, and I used to just know that everything was going to be okay. And that's what we call faith. Before I understood law of attraction, I didn't understand that this faith was actually creating really positive outcomes in my life. And I didn't really understand what law of attraction was. So today, what we're going to talk about is law of attraction. And what I want to do is try to explain it in a way that is so beginner guide. You know what I mean? Just purely introduction to my concept and my perception on law of attraction. The thing is, I think it's a bit of a minefield with any subject out there that you actually look into. I mean, I think especially something like this that is quite spiritual. Law of attraction can sometimes be a little bit, I don't know, people can maybe get a little bit of misinformation with it as well. There's a lot of things out there that are sort of baiting you in to say, oh, if you think about this, you can get a car, you could get money the next day. It doesn't really work like that. It really does work on your internal subconscious beliefs and the paradigms that you live in. So when I say a paradigm, I mean the belief systems that have been sort of experienced by you over time, and then they sit in the subconscious brain as a actual belief to what life is. I'll give you a little brief explanation of what I believe law of attraction to be. I believe it's a universal law. So when I say universal law, I mean it's a law of nature. As you've got gravity, as you've got all these different universal laws that are in our universe, it's a law that is so present and always working. And then the thing is, I think it's having awareness whether it's working or not. Because you can be asleep to this concept completely and then not understand why you're attracting certain circumstances and certain people into your life. And that can be a very deadly place to be, because being unaware means you're unconscious to the actual fact that you are attracting potentially negative and toxic people inside of your life by the way you're feeling and the way you're thinking. And this is a real sort of paradoxical, it can turn into a really vicious cycle if you're in the negative circle of law of attraction, where you keep attracting negative circumstances and negative people. And you know, for example, debt is a big one for law of attraction. And wealth, I mean, understanding wealth is a real eye-opener, really. There's a few books I read on actually money itself, in terms of just believing you've got it. And generally that has more of an effect, massive more of an effect, than actually going out and trying to get it. You know, because if you don't believe that you're worthy of it in the first place, you're going to keep attracting circumstances where it's going to be taken away from you, which is another crazy concept when you really think about it. A lot of people think, oh, this is all mumbo jumbo. And I get that, because do you know what? I was in a position in my life where if someone had told me this 10 years ago, I'd have laughed at them. And this is the thing about being aware, and everyone's got their own evolution and everyone's at their own different place in terms of understanding this concept or not. But I truly believe, even if you don't really want to buy into the concept, I think you need to honestly know and believe that having positive thoughts is definitely going to have more of a positive impact on your life than having negative thoughts. And I think it's all to do with our experiences as well. I mean, I feel like some people have had harder upbringings, growing up than others. So, we can sometimes be living in the past a lot about our previous experiences, and our paradigms never really shift because we're still emotionally charged from early experiences when we were child and childhood. Relationships with parents, if they were negative as well, they can have a massive effect later on in life. So it's almost having that forgiveness as well for having these emotions. And I think really when you think of law of attraction, it's the way the world works. So the world has to unravel. It has to produce and be creative in a certain way, and it's not just random. Like if you look at nature, everyone seems to think there's just this random pull of events where we don't know what the hell's going on, and we don't really know what we're going to do, or how these circumstances come to pass. But when you really start to break it down and start to understand that our thoughts and our emotions and our feelings and what we place our attention on then start to manifest, until you try the process and try to understand it, you won't understand that these things are actually being created by ourselves. And this is where it comes from, the paradigm shift of understanding that we are creative human beings, rather than the fact that we are just people out of like here with no control, and we're just here to live a meager existence. And that's a big problem for a large percentage of the people, because a lot of the time we get ourselves into these jobs where we get comfortable, and we believe our creation is really more to do with what we can acquire materially, which is not really creation. Like these things that we buy, materially, clothes, anything that is an object in this life, is not really a metric for happiness. Just because you've got a big house and you've got 3 or 4 cars doesn't mean you're necessarily happy inside. Obviously, these things are good, and they obviously help our existence of living, and it helps us, but it doesn't really fulfill that fulfillment of happiness. I believe that happiness comes with purpose. And, I think when we're on the right path to what we're doing, we feel this intense joy of what we're doing. Like even me doing these podcasts now, I feel like just really blessed to be doing it and be able to pass this information on, to have some sort of platform. Even though it's just started, I still believe there's a lot of value in this podcast as well. But I mean, from the beginning, you've got to see it as what you think and how you feel attracts more of it. So if I feel grateful, then I feel gratitude every day for the things I want, I'm going to attract to me more things to feel grateful for. It's the same if you feel really frustrated and you feel really negative about a certain situation. You've got a certain hate for someone, or jealousy or envy. These negative emotions are low vibrational emotions, and they will attract more of their kind as well. So it's very vicious. So say, for example, you're not doing so well in your life, and you see a friend, and they start progressing, they start doing really well, they start getting, they're following their divine path, and they're really sort of getting a lot of money, getting a lot of wealth, they're very positive. You may see that in 2 ways. You may be envious of that, to think, oh, I haven't got what they've got, so I am now envious of that person, and I'm going to project these negative energies out to the world. The world will pick up on them signals, because our bodies are complete energy centers. Our chakras, the 7 chakras of the human body, emit frequencies out to the world, and the world responds to them, and then basically reflects them as a mirror back to us in terms of our experiences. So it's like, can you imagine, we are receivers, we are big energy centers, and whatever we feel, we're giving off that energy to the world, and then eventually it comes back around again. It's the saying, what goes around comes around, is a very real thing. And karma as well is a very real thing, because if you're projecting bad energies out there, it's going to come back to you. If you're projecting good energies, it's going to come back to you. And that's what karma is. That's really what the law of karma sort of states in the spiritual laws of practice as well. So, in a nutshell, it really is our thoughts and feelings, how we feel, generally sparks from what we think. Generally, what we think sparks from a paradigm or a belief system that we hold within us. And that all has a massive play on exactly how we attract what we actually hear in this physical plane. So when we talk in quantum, we're talking more we're talking more complicated elements of life and different realities. But I won't get into that right now. I really just want to just like explain it on a level where we can all understand it. And we need to start really thinking as human beings, how are we feeling on a daily basis? And why are we feeling that way? So if you're feeling frustrated and if you feel like, you're not going anywhere in life, generally it can be a sign that you're not really on the right path for where you need to be. But a lot of people will continue in this state of frustration and try to mask it with external things. And they can be different. They can be things like, drugs, overeating, smoking, things that basically take away the temporary pain, to make us unaware of where we are. And I feel like the world, you can fall into that horrible trap of being unhappy and then trying to mask it all the time with buying things and materialistic things every single month from your wages that you buy. And it will make you temporarily happy for that moment of time, but generally it will be very fleeting and that feeling will go away again and you're back into that place of frustration. But because you have that deep subconscious frustration, you're going to attract more of that to you as well. So it doesn't matter what you buy, it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how you try to cover up this type of feeling. You're not really getting to the root cause of it. So law of attraction is very much how we feel in terms of what we feel. So whatever we feel on a daily basis is what we're going to attract more of. And there's a lot of techniques to be able to try to understand it. I mean, I think people have read books like The Secret and stuff, which is a great introduction, don't get me wrong. But the reason why you can't just read The Secret and the next day you're going to be attracting beautiful stuff into your life is the fact that our belief systems are paradigms that are made up of years and years and years of experiences, years and years and years of different brain control methods as well, in terms of getting us to feel inadequate. Because this whole world is an advertising world and they want to push products onto us to make us feel like we need the products. So in order to do that, they need to make us feel inadequate in the first place. Because obviously when they sell the product to you, you believe in your own little belief system that it's going to make you better. When the reality is, nothing external can actually do that. Only internally you can make yourself feel fulfilled. And that's having the self-love for yourself in the first place. And I honestly say, like, people that have had tough upbringings and people that have had like really hard growth periods of like growing up and feeling unloved by parents, can be highly affected by this, because subconsciously, emotionally, especially when you're younger and you're growing up through your teenage years, they're real memories that stick in your subconscious brain so vividly as well, and they'll stick there because the emotion involved in that event is so emotionally charged. Your body remembers the horrible emotions of it, and whenever it gets triggered later on in life, that belief can come back again, and you can feel that like inadequacy again, and that's the thing. The more you feel that way, the more you feel like you're not good enough, the more that you're going to attract not good enough circumstances in your life. And this is the problem with it. You can't just read a book, you can't just read The Secret, and then start thinking positive things, and expect it for the next couple of days to go away. And this is another misconception of what it is. You really need to program that inner part of yourself and that awareness to be able to understand how you change them feelings, because you can't just do it within a day. And this is another thing about the law of attraction, a lot of people think they're practicing. They think, oh, well, I've read The Secret now, I'm a master manifestation guy. It just can't be done. It's something that's got to be practiced for a long period of time. If you've never done any of this work, it is work, and it is something that you have to practice every single day. It's a subject in itself, and it's one that we should all practice, because it's the way the world works and the way the world revolves. You know what I mean? So until we start to understand really how we're feeling on a daily basis and understanding the subconscious beliefs as well, which is very difficult to do because they're sometimes most probably hidden. I used to have different subconscious misbelief paradigms that I wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? That probably came from early childhood, life where I didn't feel loved enough. You know what I mean? Where I had circumstances where I didn't get that love that I needed, and that obviously affected me in a secret way. And do you know what? I'm gonna really open up on these podcasts because I think it's really important to understand what it is, because I can't explain law of attraction of this gimmicky video that you'll see on YouTube. and you'll just see, oh, this is how you manifest all this into your life in a week. You can change it all, and it's just loads. It's just BS because you can't. It's just not something you can adopt within a week and expect to have these changes in your life when your real beliefs, your subconscious ones, take months and months of trying to have that self awareness of how you feel deep down on the inner level and how you start to change them paradigms as well. Because you can't just change how you feel instantly, subconsciously, in a day, because it doesn't happen that way. The whole subconscious brain writing happens as habitual repetitive motion. So if you've been thinking these negative thoughts for years, you're not going to be able to turn on positive thoughts and change them in a day. And I do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing The Secret at all. I think it's a great introduction book. But what I think it does do, it just crams too much of this information and different quotes from different people too quickly. And a lot of people will read it and they'll think, oh, brilliant, I need to try these things. I'll try it for a week or so. And, they won't get results they want quickly because they don't understand it's more of a lifelong process of it's more of a real self-awareness test to where they are feeling to be able to move forward with it. So my advice for trying to implement the law of attraction into your life is start to really impress that subconscious part of your brain. Because every single morning, every single evening when we sleep, there's a state called theta brainwave state. And it's just before we go to sleep. But that's when the subconscious is most impressionable. So at first, what I would try to do in terms of trying to, obviously change these beliefs is when you go to sleep at night, use a guided meditation, a positive one. And I am affirmations are great for that. If you type in I am affirmations, basically I am affirmation is just loads of set affirmation words that basically change your belief concept. So I am successful, I am wealthy, it's all these positive suggestions that you put into your brain on certain times where your subconscious is really impressionable. That will start to have a bit of an effect on what you do, but you have to do it repetitively and you have to do it every day. Like I say, don't rush with this. This is a process that happens over a long period of time. You can't just expect to be manifesting brilliant things in 2 weeks. But I can tell you, if you stay on the right path and you do small little actions every single day to try to stay in more of a positive and a better feeling mode, it will start to progress. But it's not something that is linear. So when I say linear, I mean it's not something that's going to progress over time in a straight line going from sort of 0 to 100. You know what I mean? It's going to be very slow at the start. It's going to be more like a like incline slope. So it's going to be very slow at the start. You're not going to make much progress over a few months. But then after that, when your subconscious starts to take these beliefs on that you're feeling better and you're more grateful for stuff in your life, you'll then start to see a bit of a shift, because when the subconscious takes that and it starts to become automatic and you start to automatically feel a little bit more happy because your subconscious beliefs are starting to, apply more feelings of gratitude, apply more feelings of happiness rather than fear and negativity and frustration, it will start to tenfold then and it'll start to compound then. You know what I mean? So don't feel like really negative if you're not getting much results to begin with, because it takes a while to really impress that subconscious part of the brain. And like thinking positively on the daily is very difficult because our automatic body systems are taking control of them thoughts. We're only really conscious 5% of the whole day. So 95% of our actual actions are automatic, subconscious ones. And it's just the way the brain works. A lot of people think, well, no, I'm aware all the time. But what we don't understand is that we're not. We're actually operating from systems that are automatic. So, if our subconscious beliefs are negative, we're going to start to be more negative and we're going to start to attract negativity into our lives. This is why a very large percentage of the population are not living their lives the way they want to be, because the negative subconscious beliefs and programming has been so ingrained, it's very difficult for them to get out of it. But I've got good news, people. We can change our subconscious. Anyone can do it, but it can't be done overnight. It needs to be something that we need to practice every single day. So I'm not going to start giving you loads of jargon about, attract this and attract that. I mean, I think what we can also understand and believe as well, that meditation is really more of a subconscious belief paradigm shifter. And that's why meditation is so important. A lot of people think, oh, meditation to be zen and all this, and a lot of people like have this spiritual connotation, have a negativity towards it. It's because, do you know what has actually happened over the years? They've used propaganda against it because they don't want people really to be taking control of their destiny. Because the more aware you are and the more conscious you are, the less products you're going to buy, because you don't need these products. You don't need to feel better, because you feel internally great anyway. They need us to feel inadequate to push this agenda onto us in terms of making us feel worthy, on the egotistical point of view. But when you understand and realize that the ego is just a self-fulfilling thing, and it's not a soul-fulfilling thing, it's never like the ego needs to always be fed to be alive. So it's never ending. Like if you go buy a nice new top, you'll be buying another nice new top 3 weeks down the line because that one's old. If you buy a nice car, there's a new model that comes out that you'll want. And this is like the crazy thing, because I've had these things as well. I've got a Range Rover, for God's sake. So I've been a victim of this egotistical thing subconsciously without even knowing. I'm entitled to these things, in terms of what I've manifested. Of course, I've manifested these things into my life. But have I done it for the right reasons? And that's obviously something, that's my journey, That's my journey. I need to sort of figure out and understand, did I do this for the right reason or did I not? You know what I mean? Did this fulfill me in the way what I thought it was going to, or did it not? And I honestly feel like you need to get these things to understand that they don't really give you the feelings of what you think they will when they do come. And that's what makes you look more inwards for happiness, because we're all just on this earth here just to find that happiness, And law of attraction shouldn't be something used just to gain money. It shouldn't be used just to gain materialistic things, which, I think the book The Secret is great. I'm not dissing the book again. It does give a good insight. It's actually sort of led people into the right direction, but how many people has it led onto the wrong direction of just using this technique to get materialistic things that doesn't really put them on their purpose to be here, which is to help people. And we're all here to do that. We're all here as a collective oneness, really, I believe, to help each other, and we're all here to have that spiritual journey one way or another. And there's a lot of people that are not even aware of the spiritual journey in terms of trying to get to that place where they can actually help someone else, and I'm on that journey as well. And obviously, wealth is brilliant, don't get me wrong, these things are nice to have, but don't let it define the end all. And that's the thing as well, like when using law of attraction, use it to find your purpose, because what you want to do is be able to have this purpose where you feel like every single day is just you wake up in the morning, you want to live, man. You want to just be here because you just love what you're doing. And that comes in the process of doing what you love, not what you get from what you love. Obviously, generally, if you're doing what you love and you're doing it well and you're on the right path, you will attract all these things around it. But as well, be careful and not get too attached, because they will come. When you're on the right path and you're on the right path of abundancy, money will flow in ridiculously. It will, and it will come in big amounts. And it's another test as well spiritually, not to get lost in buying loads of stuff and flaunting it and trying to flex the ego to say, oh, I've got this and you haven't, because that emotion right there is a negative one. It's not a good one. That's not genuine love. Genuine love is not really care, is being equal. And in terms of saying, look, we are all equal. I'm here to help you and I want to teach you. I want to teach you to get these things, but I want to also teach you not just to become wealthy, but become wealthy spiritually, and understand really what have you got to do here. What's your purpose, and what is it that you've got to do? So, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I think I've spoken a bit too much. But I get passionate about these type of things as well. And what I do get passionate about as well is trying to break down the misconception of what it is, because a lot of people think, oh, they look at one video and they can just be attracting things. This is a lifestyle. And if you really want to use this to your advantage, you need to start practicing it every single day. And everybody is going to be at different stages with it as well. You got some people that have had a really horrible cycle of negativity, and it's going to take a while for them to get out of that. But everybody can, and this, like, it's everyone's like duty in their evolution to get out of that as well. And at some point, they'll be presented with opportunities to get out. And some people have to hit rock bottom to understand the whole concept. And some people will get it a lot sooner. But yeah, law of attraction is a universal law that abides this whole universe. And we can obviously use our thoughts and emotions. And the more we think about something, the more we attract into our life. The more we feel as well, which is even more important. It's the emotions of feeling, which come from the thinking. That, you know, so if we can be in a state of love all of the time, we're going to attract more love. If we feel in a state of fear, we attract more things to be fearful about. And it's a very real thing, people. But yeah, I hope everybody's enjoyed this episode. I've gone quite deep into this, I feel. I don't really want to get too deep. I just wanted to talk about it from my perspective. But I hope everybody can, you know, start using these techniques a little bit, just to start, you know, being a bit more conscious and a bit more aware about how they're feeling as well. And what we'll do another podcast on auto-suggestion, which is a real way to subconsciously impress that subconscious part of your brain, where your paradigms shift really quickly. But we can do that in a method that I've learned in a particular book that I've used in my life that's helped me massively. And we will talk about that on another episode. But I think initially you just need to understand what law of attraction is on that level to then take the next step. This is a very, you know, you can't jump into the deep end with this stuff because you will drown, you know what I mean, in this information. It's very step by step. You know, if you've not really used it or you've not been in this type of way of thinking or awareness. So people, I hope everyone stays blessed. I hope everybody tries to keep more positive. And yeah, this has been episode 2 of Will's Way. Stay blessed, people.
In the quantum, I've been searching in the quantum,